Have you ever noticed how, despite the intensity of your desires and the rigorous application of visualization techniques, reality persists in not responding? You perform every procedure with precision, yet you obtain only cosmic silence, while others seem to manifest with disarming ease. The explanation does not lie in a lack of merit or in the whims of fate, but in a structural error committed by 92% of practitioners, a vibrational short circuit that transforms your efforts into unanswered echoes. The crucial revelation: this filter is not external, but resides in your inner geometry. Today we will decipher what the alchemists called the triad of materialization, three principles whose disharmony blocks any manifestation. When aligned, they cause reality to mirror your energetic signature. Your presence here is not accidental. If this message reaches you now, you have passed the critical threshold of readiness. And if these words have ignited a visceral recognition in you that like becomes more than a gesture, it is an initiatory seal. I will interpret your ability to read between the lines, your willingness to access this code, your intention to translate theory into practice. Attention, this is not philosophy. It is bioalchemy applicable in 48 hours. Your next click will determine whether you will be observers or co-creators. He who can harmonize what he feels, what he thinks, and what he does becomes the master of his own destiny. You do not live only in a physical world. You live in layers, overlapping realities, subtle fields that are constantly intertwined, even if you do not see them. And it is precisely there that the forgotten map of manifestation is found. What you call reality does not begin with what your eyes see. It begins much earlier. Before thought, before action, before matter takes shape. Every true manifestation is born from the interaction between three distinct but interdependent planes: the spiritual plane, the mental plane, and the material plane. These three levels are not metaphors, they are real structures that shape every aspect of your life from the inside out. The spiritual plane is the origin, it is the seed, it is where everything first pulsates in the form of will, intention, enthusiasm, intuition. It is the vibrational field of the soul. It is where you feel that quiet certainty that something is meant for you, even before there is a test. It is where the flame lives that does not go out, even when everything on the outside seems to be falling apart. The spiritual plane doesn't shout, it whispers, and those who learn to listen to that whisper begin to manifest from a much deeper place. The mental plane comes next. It is the translator. It is the space where spiritual impulses become images, ideas, reasonings, visions of the future. This is where the thoughts that structure the way reality will be perceived are born. Everything that passes through your mind creates form. The problem is that most people use this plane in automatic mode. They repeat thoughts that are not their own. They feed inherited and never questioned beliefs. And worse still, they believe that this is conscious thought, but it is not. Thinking clearly is choosing. It is building an internal architecture that corresponds to what your soul truly wants to manifest. Without it, the mental plane becomes noise. The material plane is the ground. It is where everything becomes gesture, word, action. It is where vibration becomes form, touch becomes construction, idea becomes action. This is where the universe responds to you. But without the previous plans, action is blind. Acting in a vacuum leads to exhaustion. It is like trying to build a bridge without knowing where it leads. Matter alone has no direction, it only responds. This is why people who act a lot, but without a clear intention and aligned thought, always feel busy, but never fulfilled. These three planes together form the sacred triangle of manifestation. When one of them is out of alignment, the flow stops. If you feel but don't think clearly, your energy is lost. If you think but don't act, your creation doesn't stick. If you act but don't feel the truth, your reality becomes empty. It is within this triangle that true alchemy happens. It is not magic, it is vibrational physics applied to consciousness. It is creating reality with precision. The most impressive part is that this structure is not new. It was taught thousands of years ago in the Hermetic schools of Egypt, in the texts of the Vedic tradition, in Platonic philosophy. The principle of correspondence teaches that everything that exists in the higher planes is reflected in the lower ones. As above, so below. As within, so without. This is not poetry. It is a law. When you ignore one part of this triangle, you break that correspondence. Manifestation becomes fragmented, inconsistent, fragile. To act without thinking is to move in the dark. To think without feeling is to build castles in the air. To feel without acting is to lock a flame in a cave. You may have flashes of clarity. You may even experience moments of alignment. But unless you consciously integrate all three planes, your reality will continue to oscillate between hope and frustration. The spiritual plane is the invisible starting point, and it is precisely in this most subtle plane that everything begins. Even though most people spend their entire existence trying to manifest only through thoughts and actions, the spiritual plane does not impose itself. It does not shout. It does not ask for proof. It simply vibrates. Those who have not learned to perceive that silent vibration remain stuck in the logic of effort. They try to move mountains with their hands when they could move entire realities with the right frequency. In the spiritual plane, nothing should be forced. Here, realities are not built like concrete blocks. They are recognized because at this level, time is not linear. Everything already is. Everything already exists. What you long to experience, what your soul deeply desires, already exists in this invisible field. It simply has not yet manifested because your other plans have not resonated with it. And this is where a mistake that almost everyone makes comes in. The act of asking, not with trust, but with fear, with lack, with that feeling of emptiness that, in the attempt to be filled, ends up creating more scarcity. When you ask for something and feel you don't have it, what you are vibrating is absence. And the universe, which does not understand words but understands frequency, gives you exactly that, absence. This is why so many sincere prayers do not bring results. Not because God did not hear them, but because the vibration of the request was actually a confirmation of the lack. You were saying, I don't have it, I need it, I miss it, and the spiritual plane responds precisely, you don't have it, you need it, you miss it. Not as a punishment, but by correspondence. Spiritual reality is not emotional, it is precise. It reflects what you vibrate, not what you say. And that changes everything. Because if you feel like you already have what you want, the spiritual plane responds with acceleration, expansion, synchronicity. This is not some vague esoteric theory. It is a hermetic principle, like attracts like. And this principle does not only work on the physical plane, it begins in the invisible, in the vibration of your inner state. That is why the ancient masters insisted so much on the state of presence, on total trust. It was not blind faith. It was a silent knowing, a certainty that needed no proof. When Jesus said, "Ask and it will be given to you," he was not talking about begging with words. He was talking about vibrating with trust, about assuming that what is yours already exists. That's why he said, "Your faith has saved you." It wasn't the act of prayer. It was the unshakable certainty behind it. But most people learn to ask with doubt, to kneel with fear, to pray with resentment, to talk to God as if they were negotiating with an invisible tyrant. And so the spiritual plane remains closed, not as a punishment, but because your vibration is not a key, it's a lock. What opens the doors to this plane is certainty. It is the genuine feeling that what you seek is already done. Because at this level, where time is not linear, the future is now. Manifestation is an anticipated memory. Perhaps now you understand why so many desires never materialize, not because they are far away, but because you keep them blocked in a field where the dominant frequency is doubt, anxiety, comparison. And when that happens, the spiritual plane is silent. It waits for you to stop asking like one who begs and start vibrating like one who remembers. Because remembering is more powerful than wishing. Wishing still carries with it the idea that something is distant. But remembering activates the awareness that something already exists. That is why so many wise men spoke of reconnecting with what is already yours. Because on this plane you do not attract, you tune in. You do not conquer, you align. And this is where many people stumble without realizing it. Because even after feeling with the spirit and thinking clearly, something still seems not to flow. Life does not respond, doors do not open, signs do not appear, and the person begins to wonder what is missing. What is missing is coherence. There is a subtle error that interrupts the flow of manifestation, vibrational incoherence, an internal misalignment that no one sees, but that the universe senses. It's when you say one thing, think another, and act completely differently. It's when your soul cries out for expansion, but your mind doubts and your body recoils. That noise between the planes creates an invisible tension, and that tension breaks the field. You feel excited about a new idea, but you don't act on it. You visualize abundance, but act with the fear of losing the little you have. You claim to trust the universe, but you spend your day trying to control everything, panicking at the unknown. That is a perfect recipe for vibrational collapse, because there is no stable energy to support your intention. What exists is fragmentation, and where there is fragmentation, there is no manifestation. Think of an electrical circuit. If there is a break between the parts, the energy does not flow. It gets stuck, it flickers, it disperses. The same goes for you. When your three planes are out of sync, the field becomes disorganized. Your vibration becomes noisy, unstable, contradictory, and the universe, which responds to frequency and not to your intentions, receives a confusing signal. The result? Inconsistent realities. Things that almost happen but don't. Doors that open halfway. Relationships that start out strong and die without explanation. Projects that start out promising and lose momentum along the way. This reflects a lack of internal integration. It's like trying to light a fire with a single spark. There may be heat, maybe even a little smoke, but the flame doesn't hold. The fuel is missing. The coherence is missing. And in manifestation, that fuel is the alignment of the three creative centers: the desiring spirit, the organizing mind, and the executing body. If one of them fails, creation fails. Many people try to manifest only with their mind. They read books, make affirmations, repeat motivational quotes, study techniques, all on the mental plane, but they don't feel. They don't really believe and they don't act. The vibration doesn't move. Others act compulsively. They work, they rush, they make things happen, but they have no direction. They are disconnected from spirit. Their actions are only repetitions of inherited patterns, not expressions of true purpose. And then there are those who feel intensely. They have beautiful dreams, powerful intuitions, lofty visions, but they do not structure, they do not bind, and so dreams evaporate like clouds brushed by the wind. The law of coherence is when spirit, mind, and body say the same thing. That's when the manifestation begins to take real form. Not when you force it, not when you wait, but when everything in you begins to vibrate one truth. Because it's easy to want something in words, it's easy to think positively for a few minutes. The hard part, and the part that changes everything, is when your spirit, your mind, and your body come into unison. When what you feel, what you think, and what you do stop fighting each other and start walking together. This is called vibrational coherence. This is perhaps the most overlooked teaching of those who speak of manifestation, because it is no use saying that you are ready to experience something new if deep down you are still vibrating as if it were not meant for you. The universe doesn't read the words you speak, it reads the frequency you hold. And frequency is born from the union of all your levels, the silent intention of your soul, the thoughts you hold, and the actions you repeat. You don't have to be perfect, but you do have to be whole. What keeps most people from living what they desire is not external unworthiness or scarcity. It's internal fragmentation. It's like trying to drive a car with three steering wheels, each one turning in a different direction. One plane wants to move forward, another resists, another sabotages itself. This creates noise, and noise prevents reality from forming clearly. But when all your creative centers, feeling, thinking, and acting, vibrate in resonance, the field organizes. Energy becomes clean, focused, stable, and that is what opens the way. But there is something that few people talk about. This alignment does not simply happen on a lucky day. It is cultivated, created, strengthened every day. Coherence needs repetition, vibrational memory, because the mind forgets. The body slips into autopilot. The soul is silent when you do not listen to it. You have to remember. You have to reconnect. You have to practice. Have you noticed how certain patterns keep coming back even when you think you've overcome them? It's because your energy is still stuck in an unconscious cycle. It's like a song playing in the background that you don't even notice, but it continues to shape your mood, your choices, your vibration. That's why creating a new reality requires more than just wanting it. It requires sustaining it, keeping the new music playing even when the old beat tries to return. And when you start doing that, something shifts in subtle but powerful ways. You start noticing strange coincidences. People appearing out of nowhere, unexpected invitations, opportunities you never imagined emerging, as if someone pushed a button behind the scenes. It's not magic, it's correspondence. Your vibration is calling out new things because you are now saying the same thing on every level, and the universe understands. Manifestation doesn't happen when you say something. It happens when your entire energy is communicating that thing clearly. You can't fake it. Life responds to who you are, not who you pretend to be for a few minutes. And this truth may be hard for those who are still fragmented, but it is liberating for those who are starting to come together within themselves. This is where true spiritual alchemy comes in, because first you have to dissolve what is false, what you have learned but no longer serves you, the beliefs that have taught you to doubt, the mental images that have been imposed on you and that were never truly yours. This is the solve, undoing what is disconnected from your essence, and only then can you begin the coagula, building a solid, clean vibration aligned with what your soul truly wants to experience. This alchemy does not happen outside, it happens inside. When you stop contradicting yourself, when you stop wanting one thing, thinking another, and acting as if it were impossible. Coherence is when your heart wants it, your mind believes it, and your body starts moving as if it were already real. It is when you experience the vibration of what you want before you even see the result. And when that happens, the universe listens to you. But now comes the question that changes everything. Does what you truly desire come from your spirit, or is it your ego that taught you to want it? And here, everything starts to get more subtle. Because now that you understand the importance of coherence, an inevitable question arises. What if what you are trying to manifest is not even what your soul truly wants? This is one of the biggest traps on the spiritual path, believing that every desire is sacred, that everything you can think of to achieve automatically comes from your deepest self. But not all desires come from the soul. Many come from the ego, from comparison, from unresolved pain, from the fear of not being accepted, from the urge to prove something to others. And those desires, as strong as they may seem, do not have a spiritual root. They are mental constructs that you have inherited from culture, family, trauma. The ego learns to desire as a defense. It looks around, sees what works, what is admired, what is valued, and begins to imitate. It wants applause, recognition, success, but not for true expansion, for emotional survival. And so you start chasing things that seem wonderful on the outside, but leave a strange aftertaste inside. You reach them, but you feel empty. You get there, but you don't feel fulfilled because it wasn't chosen by the soul. It was manufactured by the person. But there is a very clear difference between the desires of the soul and those of the ego, and that difference can be felt, not thought. The desire of the soul doesn't scream, it isn't anxious, it doesn't compare. It doesn't come with desperate urgency. It comes as a silent call, but impossible to ignore. It grows inside like a calm certainty. It shows itself in the little things that have always fascinated you, in the subjects that interest you effortlessly, in the activities that make you forget time, in the dreams that keep coming back year after year, even when you have tried to let them go. Purpose as a vibrational code. Nothing in you is by chance. Look carefully at your passions, the things that ignite your curiosity without effort, the talents you are too shy to claim, the wounds that have marked you but now give you sensitivity and strength. All this is the language of the spirit. They are vibrational codes that tell you what you came here to manifest. None of this is random. Not a single detail of your existence was designed by mistake. The gifts you bring, the situations you have experienced, the people who have crossed your path. Everything was part of an invisible architecture, a greater plan that knew your mission even before you were born. But because of the noise of society, fear, and the need to belong, you have learned to look outside, to copy formulas, to try to fit into places that don't match your vibration. And that's how purpose starts to get silenced. You start to think it doesn't exist. But it never went away. It was just buried under layers of conditioning. True purpose vibrates. It doesn't need to be announced. It transforms you from within. It flows through you. It's when you do something that makes you feel light, present, whole. It's when you feel like you're exactly where you need to be. And even though the challenges still exist, there's a quiet clarity that sustains you. You just know it. Even if you can't explain it, you feel it. This is your code, a unique vibrational pattern that only you have. And your job here is not to invent it. It is to align with it, to live it in the physical world with integrity, to allow it to express itself through your thoughts, your choices, your actions, not as a pre-written script, but as a living frequency that guides you step by step as long as you stop resisting. But here's the tricky part. When you try to manifest something that doesn't match this code, even if it seems great, even if it promises recognition, status, or money, something inside you starts to fade. You might even achieve what you planned, but inside, you feel an uncomfortable silence, an emptiness that won't go away. Motivation disappears, excitement fades, life becomes a series of meaningless tasks, and that is a clear sign that you have deviated from your path. Because when you are aligned with your purpose, even the effort feels like accomplishment. But when you distance yourself from what you came to truly experience, everything begins to feel heavy. The same routine that was once exciting becomes a burden. The same goal that once made sense now seems soulless. You wake up feeling like something is wrong, even if you can't quite place what it is. It's as if the world is still spinning, but you're no longer a part of it. This misalignment doesn't happen all at once. It comes slowly, disguised as productivity, responsibility, promises of security. But the signs are always there. Repetition, tiredness, doubt, insecurity that does not disappear even after success. Discipline that requires too much effort because it is not fueled by the truth of your spirit. The practice of hermetic manifestation is to feel, think, and act in unity. And this is where everything starts to take on density, because now it is no longer about understanding or looking for signs. Now it is time to live. Manifesting is not about hoping for things to happen. It is about becoming the kind of person who vibrates what you want. It is about owning with your body, mind, and spirit the fact that you already are what you are trying to become. And for this, there is a simple but powerful formula. Feel, think, and act as if it were already real. It begins with feeling. The spiritual plane always comes first. It is the field that initiates creation. It does not matter if nothing has changed on the outside. What matters is what is vibrating inside you. When you feel like you are already living the reality you desire, your energy field transforms. And when that happens, the universe begins to respond, because it doesn't react to what you want. It responds to what you are, and to feel like it already is to be. Then comes thinking, but not just any thinking, it's thinking with clarity, with direction, with focus. Aligned thinking is not fast, it is clean, precise. You do not have to repeat yourself 1,000 times. You just have to think with conviction without contradicting yourself at every doubt that arises. This is not forced positivism, it is mental coherence, because the mind is the projector. It is what translates vibration into form. And if your mind is disordered, your reality will be too. And finally comes action. And this is where most people get stuck because they're waiting until they feel 100% ready. They're waiting for absolute certainty. They're waiting until they no longer feel afraid. But the kind of action that transforms isn't the one that comes after courage. It's the one that comes with doubt. It's the one that comes because something inside you just knows. And that inner knowing is your guide. Act with ease, with confidence, with presence, without exaggeration, without haste, without getting lost in effort. The body is the ultimate instrument of manifestation, and when it acts lightly, reality responds with precision. But there is something even more subtle here: vibrational memory. The body and mind do not know the difference between what is real and what is felt intensely inside. That is why, when you imagine something with true emotion, you begin to educate your vibrational field. You begin to teach your nervous system what it feels like to live that reality, and what is felt with truth becomes habit. What becomes habit inevitably manifests. Presence is also part of this equation, because presence is the moment when the creative field is active. It is the now that creates, not the guilt-filled past, not the anxiety-filled future. It is here, when you are whole, when you breathe with awareness, when you speak with intention, when you act with truth. In that state, creation happens without you even realizing it, because you are so connected that the universe is already responding before you even ask. And that is the foundation of Hermeticism. Everything is mind, the universe is mental. So, if everything is mental, and if the universe responds to the vibration of a mind aligned with spirit, then manifesting means thinking with the soul. It means acting with a mind that vibrates with feeling. It means becoming a co-creator. And this is no longer just a nice idea, it is a shift in posture. You stop being someone who pleads and become someone who remembers, someone who knows, someone who supports. And when that happens, reality begins to rearrange itself with such precision that it seems like magic. But it's not magic, it's just you, finally whole. Because after all, this was never a journey to something external. It was a return. Returning to what you always knew but had forgotten. Returning to the center, where everything is coherent. Returning to the state of presence, where there is no longer a distance between what you feel, what you think, and what you experience. The great work begins there. True manifestation is not an achievement, but a homecoming. What you long for is not to be created, but acknowledged. It already resides in the sanctuary of your being, resonating in the primordial matrix of your essence. The alchemical work is this: to distill consciousness from the illusion of separation. Philosophical gold does not shine outside, but inside. It is the state of grace of those who have stopped pretending. The great work does not change the world, but transfigures the gaze. Chaos becomes living order. Fear becomes a beacon. The mask melts into the original face. And when being takes the helm, the river of life flows without banks. No longer predators of opportunity, but cosmic magnets. Attraction is now a natural law, silent as gravity, powerful as the tides. Once unthinkable synchronicities become your daily alphabet. Solutions come before problems, because you yourself have become the living answer. That yes that now lives there is not acquiescence, but epiphany. It is the signature of someone who has stopped looking for himself to start being, of someone who has understood that it is not about arriving first, but about walking authentically. Speed is deception. Truth is a compass. When will, thought, and flesh dance in unison, manifestation ceases to be a strategy and becomes an existential symphony. The world no longer responds to your requests, but to your very presence, because you yourself have become the answered prayer. If this resonates with your core, a like is your seal. Resonance in the comments is your witness. Sign up is your step into the sacred circle. The world awaits those who dare to be who they are. See you soon at the 0 point where everything is already done. May your every heartbeat be a creative Big Bang.